I press the start. The bot says what the bot says. The recording is in progress. And that means that I have the heart attack of my life while we wait for attendees to come into the room. And of course, attendees are coming because you have fans, like, obviously.
Hey, there's one.
Yes, and more will come. And so, hi, Trisha. We're so glad that you're here. We're going to wait for friends to come. And while we are waiting for that critical mass, I am going to, there we go. See, I told you more people were going to come. Hi, Trisha. So this is the time while we're waiting for more friends to fill up the room that we talk about what's going on in the background. But Sara has brought something to
the foreground, really.
Yes. Oh, Sara, what's going on?
Listen, I've been excited for Squad for many, many moons now. You see that, moons?
Yes, we did. Yes, we saw what you did there, Sara.
And yes. I've been a fan of Maggie's for many, many years. And so to be able to have an event about this book, which is so great, I felt, and it's almost Halloween, and I have so much respect for Maggie that I went to a Party City in person to buy this. And let me tell you, that supply chain is real. Those shelves are sparse, folks. So if you have some holiday shopping this holiday or another holiday, get to it quick. I probably stole this from some kid's Halloween costume. They were like, wanted the last wolf mask. And actually, nobody wants to wear this. This is pretty uncomfortable, but
it's pretty good. It's a good mask, though.
That is to say, I'm just really excited for this evening, and I won't wear it the whole time.
Just some of it.
Just some of it, yeah.
Summer Laurie is here, who used to work with both of us. Hi, Summer. Summer is a book sync person, which is nice.
I'm so glad to have y'all. I'm sure that more of our friends are going to come. So we were just saying, Summer and Trisha, that like Massachusetts was hit with a literal like weather bomb yesterday with 90-mile-per-hour winds, and like 400,000 people are out of power, and I don't know where those people are, but like I just know that it's a thing. So I hope that more of our friends will join us in a little bit, but in the meantime, I think y'all two should get started because this has already been so much fun. So I'm gonna do my thing. So hi, my name is Kira Wilson Cook. I am the events coordinator for the Silver Unicorn Bookstore in Acton, Massachusetts. It is my delight to host Maggie Tokuda-Hall and her friend, like true friend, Sara Farizan. So Sara is the author of Here to Stay. And this is part of a series, right? There's a second one of these, isn't there?
Oh, no.
Okay, but
I only do solos. Yeah. So I don't have the capacity for a long running narrative.
Okay, but we know that there are more books coming, but this one is available at the Silver Unicorn. And then of course we are here to celebrate Maggie's new release, Squad, which is a gorgeous, like fabulous, it's a graphic novel about eating the patriarchy. We're just gonna put that out there. They're literally girls eating the patriarchy, of which we need more books and narratives. So Squad, and also The Mermaid, the Witch, and the Sea, which is still available at hardcover at a local bookstore near you. Both of these are available at the Silver Unicorn Bookstore and silverunicornbooks.com if you don't live near us. And if you order Squad, you can get cool stickers. I told my boss, I was like, oh yeah, no, the stickers are not coming back. Like the Eat the Patriarchy sticker is absolutely going somewhere on my computer. And just to be clear, both of these books are going to have book plates, signed book plates available. So if you would like to order this book or come in and get these two books with book plates, let us know at silverunicornbooks.com. Those of you who are here, there are more friends coming. You should just know the chat is already lively, like throw things in the chat and be encouraging and be fun. But if you have questions for Sara or Maggie, please throw them into the Q&A so that Sara and Maggie can find them. They will be doing Q&A, I'm assuming through the whole gig, right? You're gonna kind of weave them in as you go. Yeah, I know, you're fine.
Sure.
I don't even know. I don't even need to be here.
I mean, I have questions just for myself.
Right.
But that, you know,
it's
happy to field them from the from the crowd. Yeah.
Well, perfect. So throw questions in the Q&A, throw your encouragement in the chat. I am not going to be here until the end when I have to break up this party, and I will feel super bad about it. Maggie, thank you so much and for choosing us to host you for this awesome event. And Sara, thank you so much for saying yes when we were like, will you please join us for this? You're such a friend, hello, of the store. And I'm so grateful to host you again. We just love you at the Silver Unicorn. So I'm so grateful to host you.
Can't tell, but I'm smiling. So
we love you. Like, we really do love you. And Maggie, we love you and we love this book. And I can't wait to hear you talk more about it. So this is going to be a great hour. And I'm going to stop talking and disappear. So
thanks, Kira.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And to all you party people out there, yes, if you do have questions for Maggie for her excellent
Sara
novel illustrated by Lisa Sterl, it's a gorgeous book. If you haven't read it yet, what's up? What's the matter? But you know, it's a great book to pick up, and you should, especially as it's Halloween. But really, you could read this any time of year. Like Valentine's Day, great time. 4th of July, really any time of year, but particularly now. And Maggie, I'm just so proud of you. I'll take this off.
Thanks, bud.
I'll put it back on for the Q&A.
Okay.
Woo,
you look better. I'll be honest.
Really?
There's been a market improvement.
I was worried. We like put it back on. It's okay. We have wolf everything.
Love this. I love how themed you came.
Well, listen.
Yeah, that is a Teen Wolf tee she's wearing.
It is. It's Michael J. Fox. Scott Howard. I also have some Scott Howard. Would you like to see them during?
Yeah, obviously, dude. You know what's wild is I've never seen Teen Wolf.
What?
Yeah, I've never there's like all this like classic werewolf media that I've just never seen, and Teen Wolf is probably the most egregious.
So this is a, you know, him in a varsity jacket, or if you prefer him sporty Spice.
Oh, I do like Sporty Spice.
Yeah. And then this is him just, so we've come a long way together.
I see that.
Yeah. I didn't need to share that with you. Let's talk about your book. I want to say first, congratulations, because this has been an indie bestseller for not once, twice, but 3 times a lady, which is incredible. I'm very excited. And it's a testament to your work and how awesome and excited people are for it. But I think to just your indie roots and always like being an indie bookstore person. And I'm just so happy for you. And it's a great piece of media.
Thanks.
And I can't wait for more media. And should it ever become a TV show, you know, invite me to something.
Okay. Noted.
Like, oh man, it'll be like a cast party.
Okay. But only if you wear the wolf mask again. Absolutely. For at least when you walk in, for the entrance.
That's moment. How I'll get in. Otherwise they won't. They'll be like, oh, that lady again. So I'd like to ask you, and I'm sure folks, if you have questions for Maggie, please put them in the Q&A and we'll get to them before the end. But I wanted to ask you, where did this idea come from? Like, were you like, I mean, how did this all happen?
So Squad is set in a town called Piedmont, and at Piedmont High School, which is a real place. And actually where I spoke earlier today about Squad.
Oh, wow.
So wild. Yeah.
Want to talk about that?
We'll get into it. I was like pretty mad when I left Piedmont. I saw and experienced a lot of things in high school that were pretty brutal. And I always wanted to write something about it. And it was always like too grim and too like, and the moral of this story is listen to girls, like very that energy.
Yeah, leave that stuff to me. You know, leave those narratives to me. But, you know, prejudice is bad. Basketball is good. You know,
basketball is good. I love that book. It's a good book, Sara.
Thanks. My mom thinks so, so that's nice. Anyway.
Listen, you got your mom to read your book. That is more than I can say for
Yeah,
my full-length novel.
my dad won't. He'll buy them, but then doesn't read
That's
them.
how both my parents are. They're like, we are so proud of you. My favorite part was that there were mermaids. You didn't read it. Bless you. I love the support. And that also you're like, I'm bored now, no more.
No.
Anyway, I tried to write about Piedmont a lot and failed. And when I came up with the switch that this group of girls could be werewolves, it like gave me the permission I needed to like be silly and like have more fun with it and put in all the period jokes I'd always wanted to make. And so that's what like set me free. And then after I kind of put that together, I wrote the first draft of Squad in like a week because I was just like on fire with it. And it took longer, of course, to edit. And I think when I sold it, it was like 18,000 words. And now it's like 25,000 or something. I did a lot of expansion. Word count's funnier in graphic novels because it like a little goes a long way. But as soon as I was like, oh, this could be a horror comedy, I was able to like really get into it and have it feel like my vibe and what I wanted.
Yeah. And I feel like horror, people who don't quite understand it, like they might think it's just the gore or just the violence or whatever, the thrills and chills. But I find there more statements that are made in horror movies than in any other kind of narrative. Because you're not hitting them over the head, right? You might be hitting them overhead with a literal shovel, but you're not hitting them over the head with the message. Like those things come through in a lot of horror narratives. And it does allow you to have moments of like, the two biggest reactions, I think, I mean, people could argue romance, but I think is like fear and comedy. Like
I think they're the same thing.
Yeah.
Like I think that you need, they're so paired. I see them as like the same side, different sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
I think you're exactly right is my point. Sorry to interrupt. I'm just excited.
No, that's, oh man, this energy. Missed you. Yeah, Maggie and I met many, many years ago when I was trying to promote my first book. And I was at a big convention for the first time.
It was BEA at the speed dating.
Those days, yes, long time ago when I was shiny. Anyway, and then and so they had this like speed dating event, which is gross in itself to call it that, but it was like where the booksellers and people who are interested in books would sit at different tables, and then the authors would go to each table. And I was so nervous. Public speaking is not my favorite thing to do. And also
it wasn't just public speaking. It was like the absolute most awkward iteration of it, where it's like, it's a small group. You can make eye contact with literally every person there and watch them get bored with you talking.
Yes.
Brutal. Just
and I've done them since. And one of them, you could tell as soon as I said where the main character was from, or where like they just visibly their body language changes, and I'm like, oh, you're kind of racist, huh? So like then you have to like barrel through and do it. And so Maggie was one of the booksellers at that first event who like smiled throughout and was like encouraging, like, you're doing great, honey. It's all right. And so we've been friends since then. So thank you very much, Maggie.
What you're leaving, I'm going to out both of us on this one. What you're leaving out of that story is I think I'd already read your book and was already a fan. So I was like super excited. Wow. And then I brought you out to San Francisco, or like requested you for an event in San Francisco just so I could ask you out on a date, and then chickened out. And you signed my book to Maggie, a straight girl who will never ever go out with me. I was like,
did I write that?
There. Yes, I have the book on my shelf. I should get the proof. It was like, I have never panicked as hard in my life as when you were signing my book and being like, you're straight. And I wanted to be like, I'm not. Okay. There you go. Okay. Bye.
Listen,
and also all your friends came out to your event. So I couldn't even ask you for drinks afterwards because you're like, well, I'm going to go out with all my friends now. And I was like,
I would have,
okay.
Maggie, I would have kicked them all out. You're still in my phone as Maggie Dream Girl. And, but listen, it worked out. You're married to a lovely man. You have a wonderful son.
We do. It's great.
I watch cartoons mostly, so I don't think I'm the right candidate for your grown-up life. but I did.
But that's
I did
how far
live in
back we
San
go.
Francisco for a time,
Yeah.
and then was like, maybe I should text her now. Maybe I should get in touch now. And then was like, I can't talk when I'm around her. And so look at us now. Look at us.
Look at us now.
Talking about books.
Yep.
Very, very chaste. You drink that water. I'll drink this water. Boy, oh boy.
I did actually, I have like a little cocktail in a can. I do think I'm going to open it.
Oh,
listen,
goodness.
I already spoke at Piedmont High today,
Yeah,
which
so let's
is,
talk about that. So
yeah.
the book is set in Piedmont. And for those of you who haven't read it yet, again, what's going on? But it's about a squad of teenage women who are the cool girls at Piedmont High. And one of them is new, Becca, who I'm very fond of. And she gets invited to join this cool group, cool girl clique at Piedmont, to then find out that the girls are werewolves and feed on terrible high school boys at different high schools.
Yeah, just like the worst boys they can find.
So what was it like being back at the scene of the crime, like this place that you've written about? But
yeah, I mean, I mentioned I was like pretty mad at Piedmont. I'm still pretty mad at Piedmont. Like Piedmont's like the history of Piedmont, I feel like is all you need to know to understand it. It was part of Oakland. And then in the early 1900s, a bunch of really rich white people were like, oh, no, I don't like the direction this is going. So they made their own city. So Piedmont's literally the donut hole of Oakland. Like it's like a circle and all around it on every single side is Oakland, but it's its own city of just like very wealthy people. And there are houses in the city that have in their deeds that like you can't sell it to Black people. Like that's the kind of place it is. Yeah. Obviously that's not enforceable anymore, but that's definitely the culture that's there.
I think a lot of America has,
it's
has
not unique to Piedmont.
Redlining, yes.
Yeah,
correct.
but it's, a pretty potent example of a lot of things that are wrong. And so I went back and spoke today and I charged them a speaking fee. And that felt great. That felt really good. I highly recommend becoming an author just so that one day the high school that wronged you will have to pay you to come back and speak. And you can be like, I'm only here because you're paying me. But it actually felt like.
But I gotta say, I bet the kids were really thrilled. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Like it was kind of like a lovely healing full circle moment where I came back and was like, these are not the kids I went to high school with. And that alone was like kind of like a lovely moment of like, things are better and different in this way already. And I've been meeting with a group that they have on campus called Piedmont for Consent. It's a club that they have.
Oh, amazing.
I know. And if that had existed when I was in high school, I would have been in it for sure. And also like, I think I would have felt a lot less alone with some of the things that I was seeing and experiencing. They're really thoughtful and they have started doing assemblies that are mandatory for all the kids in the school. But they are also going into the middle school and the elementary schools locally and teaching kind of basics of consent at like different levels for different age groups. So I told them I will do anything they want at any time and that they should just tell me what they need and like point me in that direction and I'll do it. But it was, kind of sad. I met with them and on the one hand, it was so hopeful because they're so passionate and like they're getting it done and like they're working hard. And it was also a bummer because they'd read Squad and they were like, it's exactly the same. And I graduated 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And so it was like, it was like I wanted to cry for like a few reasons at once. So when I was talking to them, so I was just so proud of them. And on the one hand, things are so much better. But it's been 20 years and the fact that they're like, oh yeah, Thatcher's like, they're naming names and stuff. And I was like, yeah, the fact that you can still name names is like not great. Not great.
Like, is this Thatcher based on blah blah? Like, yeah.
Oh my God. That's the funniest thing that started happening is people who I went to high school with have started coming out of the woodwork and they all have guesses about who people are, which like no one's any one person. Yeah. Like, I'm not trying to get sued and I'm not stupid, but like, it's hilarious that they all have their ideas of who they think everyone is.
My grandmother's friend did that to me once. And she was, because it was the same name as a character, and was like, is this about me? I was like, this character is 18 and not a senior citizen. And like, it was just a very,
She's a senior in high school.
yeah, but not, I don't know. I just thought it was really, I was like, that's a reach. But
Yeah.
then
I've been really, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No.
I've just been lucky that my family hasn't been like that, like hasn't looked for the sharp edge in my writing and been like, that mom who's like this.
Yeah, the mother-daughter scenes I actually wanted to talk to you about. I mean, that's not the heart of the book, but for me, it was such a great way of you exploring that relationship with the dialogue between the mom and Becca, and then the caption in the panel being like translating what she really means is, or what I really mean is. And I just thought that was such a clever device, and really a lot of the women in the book, you know, they're all individuals, but they're all kind of models of a certain types of women we've seen. And yeah, except for perhaps the teacher, Mix
Wallace.
Yes, Mix Wallace, in which Becca has a moment of like, oh, who's this? Like, that's a cool role model. And also maybe you're kind of cute. I don't know. And you're talking about stuff. Anyway, but that idea that like there are these different models that Becca notices of what life can be beyond high school, I guess.
Yeah, I thought a lot about both of those characters. And actually, I think both of them were kind of my favorites to write in some ways. I was going to ask you,
what is your favorite character to write in Squad?
I mean, I loved writing Squad. It's the least arduous writing journey I've ever had. Like, it took me 8 years to write The Mermaid, the Witch, and the Sea. It was like torture. It wasn't easy. Like, it didn't come naturally. All of it was like, and this one was just like, and I think because I kind of knew who all these people were, in some sense. And so I think Marley provided the most opportunities for like little jokes that make me laugh. Like, she's so unself-conscious and says kind of awful things pretty regularly that really amuse me.
Fine. Yeah.
She's
pretty.
She's very pretty. She's
Becca's the prettiest. Anyway, that's
but the mom was really interesting to write because I think I was a kids bookseller for so long. And so I think about how we talk to kids all the time. That's something that predates parenting for me by like a solid decade. And what's interesting to me about the mom is that she's somebody who like, she's a good mom. Like, she's really loving. She loves Rebecca and like, she's there for her in her moments of dire need without judgment. But she's also somebody who carries all the baggage of having to live under patriarchy and is somebody who has never questioned that with any depth. And so she, you know, accidentally, frankly, like imposes these rules on Becca that are really ugly. And the way that she polices their bodies and the way that she kind of calculates how self-worth is measured are pretty damaging for like, you know, they're not healthy ways of thinking about yourself, or like you're only worth something if you're successful and you're thin, etc. But you know, that's what's rewarded.
There was stuff you did in it, and Lisa illustrated that like when they're having a conversation, yes, there's that translation and there's the stuff that's actually being said. But then in the panel, there's like, she's watching TV and there's an ad for like a beauty product.
Be his angel. Or blow his mind. That's what it was.
Or just what, like there's all this stimulus around you can't get away from, even in your own home.
Yes, that was exactly it with Louise. Was like, even your feminist single mom who's like, go get him, honey, I want you to be successful, can't escape some of these sort of like awful trappings that I think predisposed Becca to being amenable to a group like this Squad. And I love Mix Wallace because I think they're an opportunity to imagine a different way of being an authority figure. So I wanted at least one adult in the story who wasn't like completely out of touch and like stupid and like, you know, didn't understand anything. And Mix Wallace was a good opportunity for that, because it's not their role as their chem teacher to be the one to like take on rape culture all on their own and be like, haha, I've noticed that you children sit in different spots depending on how popular you sense each other to be or whatever. But they make it clear just with like quiet moments that, they have expectations of the kids, but also if they're going to do critical thinking, that they support them. And so I joke that Mix Wallace is the only good person in the book, but I'm sure Mix Wallace is also a bad person. Somehow.
I think
they're
Heidi
literally murderers, Sarah. What's
Heidi
that?
has a good shot.
Oh, no, you're right. Heidi Halperin's like a nice person.
Yeah.
She just found out where the clitoris is. Like Heidi's thriving.
But she's also getting homework done,
Yeah, she's a good kid. But she's also somebody, when she's confronted with what happened with Allison Green, the girl who came before them, and she's like, yeah, well, she's like, it's her fault. Like she kind of, even that like good, nice girl like Heidi can't escape the sort of like victim blaming consensus that tends to form in these situations. And so it's not that she's a bad person, just like no one in the book is really like, oh, bad person, but they all do bad things, and they all do things that are really harmful to other people. And that's the minor way that Heidi is complicit in that.
Okay, that's a fair point, but only because you're the author.
Thanks. So thanks for your permission.
Oh. I was going to ask how you decided to write it as a graphic novel.
And werewolves, man.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to write in prose a description of someone changing into a werewolf?
No, and please don't ask me to ever try, because
exactly. That's how I felt.
Dialogue. Yeah.
Yeah. I love writing dialogue, and I like knowing how someone will look, but not having to necessarily write every sentence describing it in a way that doesn't become arduous. And there were things that I wanted to signal about the girls that I thought would be best done just in quick visual things where you could miss it or you can see it, like a little bit more room for interpretation. And so once I came up with the idea of werewolves, it was like pretty fast to graphic novels, because it was like, oh man, how are you going to write werewolves in a way that like is still fun and isn't all about like the moment when they shift, which I feel like is that's kind of like what you're doing when you do the prose. It's like sit in those moments, and I was less interested in that. I was much more interested in them like eating boys and like sound effects and snarky dialogue.
Good stuff.
It just felt very comic booky to me.
And how were you introduced to Lisa Sterl, or did you kind of just send her the script, or?
I didn't get to be part of that conversation. So it's just like with picture books, at least when you do traditional publishing route for a graphic novel, where like I sold the script to Green Willow, Martha Mihalik at Green Willow, and then Martha found Lisa and was like, do you like her? And of course I was like, well, now I'm obsessed with her, because the Modern Witch Tarot had just come out, which is like or it was on its way out, so she was like sending out teaser images of it, and it's an incredible tarot deck, and it's like grounded in a very like intersectional feminism aesthetic and value system that I was like very down with. And so she was our number one choice. She said yes, and I was extremely excited. And then it was like a full calendar year before she was able to start working, because she was like doing other stuff. But she did an incredible job. There are a lot of moments that I think she made this book have just like so much more depth and complexity than what was just in my script.
I loved that, it's a completely original story and it's so new, and but there were things that the iconography was sort of familiar. So you feel like and maybe it's that feeling of high school where you feel it's familiar, but like all the girls who are already in the group have necklaces. And I immediately thought of Heather's with the scrunchies, even though they have different powers altogether. Or just all the kind of like high school party scenes. Some of it felt a little Jaws, some of it felt a little The Howling, some of it felt a little Jennifer's Body. Like,
Jennifer's Body is
I love
definitely
that.
the movie that has had the single most amount of influence on this book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just great to have a completely original idea and take, but still pay homage to like these things that we have loved and digested over the years.
Yeah, I mean, the line between real life high school and high school, as we keep like the commonalities of high school representation that we keep going back to me are so blurry that some like it feels like the movies look that way. So then the parties started looking that way, which made the movies seem more realistic.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I know once a young lady takes off her glasses.
Oh, now she's hot. She takes that ponytail down, it's over.
Woof.
Ooh.
Forget it. Like there goes the falafel hat or whatever she was wearing.
It's funny, the party that you should mention, the parties, they are all, I was really careful of this. Every single party that's in the book is based on a party that I went to in high school. I tried to be really fair and not make up any weird like adult projection onto what a party would be. And I was like, I've made the decision to be like, the parties will be real. They're all the like rowdiest parties I ever, well, I went to like 10 parties and 4 of them are in this book, Sarah.
Wow. The only drinking party I went to was our graduation party.
Wow.
Everything else we hosted parties. They were like, sober, and we'd watch like the
like chips and dip and stuff.
Yeah. Like play some ping pong, like no beer pong, just ping pong, like literal,
Oh man. Yeah, the best one, and this was the funniest one for when I was at Piedmont today. Somebody was like, oh, are there like real places in the book, like they're, that are based on Piedmont, et cetera? And I was telling them, and I was like, and the kegger in the graveyard. Do you guys still do that? And then like the entire back row started laughing. And I was like, you guys still do it. There's a graveyard locally.
Disrespectful. Wow.
It's so I went to one. This is one of my like most concrete, visceral high school memories. Was the one kegger in the graveyard I went to, and this girl was wasted, and it was like wet. It was fall, so it was, it had just rained, and she tripped, and she was just like, she'd eaten shit on a grave and was just like tumbling down over other ones. And I remember just being like, I shouldn't be here. This is bad. I don't like it. And I won't go home.
Yeah. That's not a Seal music video.
No, it was very bad. And so I wanted, they knock over a grave in the book, and it's like a little joke just for me.
Oh gosh.
About a thing that I saw.
Well, write what you know.
Yeah. Werewolves don't exist, but keggers in the graveyard do. So
yeah. Yes. And if anyone again has Q&A, we're going to start using them in about 10 minutes. So please feel free to ask questions. So yeah, you were saying earlier, I don't know if we were recorded then or not, but do you have a favorite werewolf narrative? Because there aren't too many women werewolves. There's The Howling, but some of that, there's a sexual assault in that movie too. So it's like we usually see a lot of dude werewolves and not ladies.
Yeah, and for that reason, I don't actually have werewolf stories that I like a ton. I don't. That's not fair. It's not that there are no good ones. It's just that it's not been the genre that I'm like, fuck yeah, werewolves.
But have you seen Teen Wolf 2?
No, I haven't seen Teen Wolf 1. I haven't seen An American Werewolf in London. I have seen An American Werewolf in Paris, which I used to think was very funny. And I think I was also really excited because the woman was one of the werewolves.
Yeah, Julie Delpy. Yeah,
yeah, she's extremely attractive.
She is,
and so no, I was really excited to write girl werewolves. I hadn't heard of Ginger Snaps until well after this was under contract, and I still haven't seen it. It's going to be like my little present to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think the fact that we have kind of like randomly gendered werewolves to be male is so stupid for a lot of reasons, but also just the low-hanging fruit joke of like once a month you turn into a monster and you have like this weird bloody secret, and for some reason we weren't making this a period joke all the time, what a missed opportunity. What are we doing?
I think
What is even the point?
I think people tried, but usually it's a lot of men who create these type of stories for whatever, or get those stories made. You know? But
Very
we watched
stupid.
My Mom is a Werewolf together, and that
That movie is deranged.
Yeah.
What bizarre. I was like one of those people, generally, I'm like, I don't think your lore matters that much. There's someone pointed this out earlier, and I'd forgotten that I'd done this, but they never say the word werewolf in the book ever.
Yeah.
Becca asks explicitly, like, what are you? And she's like, are you fucking stupid?
Yeah, like you've seen movies, like you know what it is.
And I purposely didn't have like a Giles in the library scene where they're like, here's how all werewolves have worked forever. Because first of all, they're make-believe, so they get to work however you want. And secondly, I like the idea of like a weird little secret that these girls are like, you know, participating in and passing around. But that movie, My Mom is a Werewolf, is the weirdest werewolf lore I've ever seen. Like, it makes no sense.
No, but
they clearly were like, vampires, werewolves, same thing. And then they just rolled with it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot going on in that film that doesn't need to make sense.
The mom almost has sex with a boy at a high school party.
I don't think that was it. I think she was like hungry, like she wanted to eat.
Oh, I mean, so, okay.
Yeah.
All I remember is that she ends up shaving her leg and shoving the wolf leg hair in his mouth, which was a moment that I really liked.
Which is why it probably wasn't very commercially successful, but
that's too bad, because that's the best part. Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about Ariana Vandergum. And where's she from? What's she doing now? I mean, I know what she's doing at the end of the book, which is not much, but how did she come about? And how was she the alpha type that you thought, you know?
Okay. So my like serious answer is that Ariana is the stand-in for white feminism. Like, she's a girl who is incredibly obedient to the rules of patriarchy while pretending to subvert them in a way that is convenient to her, while still effectively sidelining the women of color around her and not listening to them. She's perfectly comfortable weaponizing her tears. Like, that's kind of her lane. She's really like adept at that. And she pays a price for it. Like, she pays a price for not listening to the women around her. The jokier answer is she's based on every girl I ever had a crush on, and it was mean to me.
Okay, so can we, I don't know if you want to analyze that a little bit, but like, we don't have to in this Zoom. We can talk later.
It's okay.
But,
I'm not embarrassed.
Okay. Well, they're dummies. And like, okay, Becca, I could understand, like, we've all been there, and you're new in an environment, whether that's summer camp or school or new job or whatever, and you desperately want to make friends, and you maybe haven't had the easiest time. I just thought she was so cool, and like, how
she is
friends. I know. At the end,
Becca doesn't have friends, I think, because she's kind of like a persnickety. She's not super nice inside. Like, she's nice to people who are smart, but you get that sense of she has a little bit of her mom's opportunism, where it's like, but Ariana, I think, is very cool in the scary way, where it's like, she's just somebody who's always kind of spoke the language. Do you know what I mean? Like, she doesn't strike me as somebody who's ever not fit in. And it's made her kind of cruel. Whereas Becca, you know, obviously is based more closely on my own experience, and like, she's named for my best friend. She moved to Piedmont the year that my older sister had to move to Piedmont. And so, like, generally speaking, she's kind of like a smush of the three of us, like the three women I know best in the world, kind of smushed together, and we make Becca. Whereas like the other girls in the squad are a little more, there are other types of women that I don't know quite as well.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or as intimately.
Yeah. And there's a lot of infighting among the squad, which is good to show. And I think that even though they're talking about their friend group and the rules and who they are meant to prey on or not, it's interesting to show the dynamics in like a microcosm is like a larger scale infight, right? To the grand scheme of feminism.
Right.
So it's, you're smart. Good job.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thanks for seeing it. No, it was like, that was the diciest part to write for me. Like the things that I really worried about when I was writing it were representing sexual assault in a way that didn't re-traumatize people who had experienced it. So like, it's always kind of there, but I was
like on the edge of it. Like it's,
I always wanted to be clear, like, we're never going to play this as like a titillating moment. You're not going to be forced to watch this. Like, that's not what this story is about. And the other thing was how the girls' friendships would work, because I think if handled wrong, it could unwittingly send the message that like women just can't get along. And it's like, that's really not what I'm trying to say. Yeah. And so being really careful about the ways that they trespass against each other are in some ways relatable to any friend group, but more largely about if you are a group of people who've charged yourself with extrajudicial justice, what are the problems that are going to arise? Like, how is that a safe system? And it's not a safe system. And that's kind of more what they're meant to show than, than like a women just can't work in groups kind of feel, which I hate that argument. So
I didn't get that from the book.
Good, because it's a thing I worried about a lot.
Well, you achieved what you meant to achieve. I think especially, I don't want to spoil it because again, you may not have read the book, but let's get on that already, and shop for it at the Silver Unicorn if necessary.
Love that.
There was, I just liked the way you also, when they were going after their prey, so the types of gentlemen that they cornered at these parties to then feast on.
Yes.
You had these different types of guys that had excuses that I think are often heard in a lot of instances of, unfortunately, assault or that kind of thing, where it's like, I'm just the friend zone guy. Like, nobody gets me. Like, I'm tired of being friend zoned, like, why don't
he
girls?
He was my favorite one of the boys that they eat, the friend zone guy.
Yeah. Just those different types of kind of excuses, or the I know you want it guy.
Yeah.
Or be like, oh, I don't know, like kind of and then there are moments where like this he seems very shy and I don't know, like maybe we shouldn't eat him. But
yeah, that poor boy. R.I.P. him, nameless and dead.
I think I would have been like, this girl's out of my league. Something.
I think that's the easier part with all of this is like, I don't think any boy would self-select like that.
Yeah.
Like you would survive just on merit of being like, this doesn't seem plausible. Well, see you later.
Yeah, I'd be like, the straight girl I'll never date.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm safe from werewolves. There was a line before we, please put your questions in the Q&A box if you have any. If not, I'll keep going. And I love the sound of my own voice, but we'd love to hear from you. So Q&A, please. There's a line that Becca says in the captions that said, she's already transformed and she's a part of the squad fully. And she says, what I never understood until I changed, how close anger and hunger are really. So what does that mean?
Okay. A lot of things to me personally. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you're the author, so that's why.
Yeah. Hunger in this book has a lot of different meanings. There's the obvious kind of like policing around bodies that the girls do, and specifically it's like really potent with her mother. And so the idea of being hungry all the time because you're not allowing yourself to eat is one of the ways where like they're hangry. They make hangry jokes and stuff like that. They don't eat lunch. And so that's one of the ways that hunger and anger can kind of start to like smoosh up against each other. And also because of the resentment that creates, that sensation of like, all I want to do is fucking eat. And how mad it makes them to have to be this obedient is part of it. And the fact that they have this outlet for it where they okay, they're going to follow these some rules, but they found a really serious loophole, and they get to like exercise their anger and their hunger in this like incredibly violent fashion that makes the whole book into kind of a revenge fantasy gift for like people who have been assaulted and been hurt by these systems. And so I guess I wanted to have a moment where Becca is aware of her own anger, and that playing a part in how appealing being a werewolf is. It's not just like the fun of destruction, which like is its own thing, but enacting some kind of justice for the crimes that are committed against her all the time, of assumption and pressure and, you know, expectation for who she is and what it means to be like a good girl. And they're all like good girls.
Yeah.
Like they're all obedient. And so they need, I liked the idea of like monstrous constraints making these girls into monsters. And so that edge of anger and hunger to me was really important. It was something that I was thinking about the whole time I was writing the book. Like that's sort of the driving, like philosophical bent of the book.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's a moment where Becca, I don't want to give too much away, but one of the members of the squad and Becca have more of a more than friendly situation and enter into a romantic relationship. Right. And there she says, like, I'm just so hungry. I'm sorry. I'm just so hungry. And so is the hunger like the hunger for like ambition or freedom or love, or just all like you're just hungry for things that aren't quite in grasp?
Yeah. I think the last, where it's like girls are so starved for so many of the things that we just allow for boys, like ambition and freedom and a sense of agency in their lives. And I think that relates pretty easily to queerness as well, where it's like she just wants to be herself. Mm-hmm. That's all she really wants. She wants to be liked for herself. And that has felt impossible. And so in this moment when that kiss happens and it like she kind of startles herself with it, it's because she lets that facade down for a little bit too long, because she is just that hungry. And like like not fulfilling what they do every month is a part of that, but really what she's talking about is that sense of constant constraint. And she just wants to be away from it. And this is one of the ways that she can do that.
Should make you a squad playlist.
Or you should, because I'm like so terrible. Musically illiterate, and people are like, do you have a playlist for squad? I'm like, I don't even know how to make a playlist.
And then you'll take copy and paste it. Yeah. You're like, here's the squad playlist I used to write my book.
I love that for us.
Like, oh, that's great. And then
you have such good taste.
Yeah. I'll be like, yeah. Last chance for Q&A, folks. I know you've got questions. It says no open questions.
Wait, Sarah, I have questions for you though.
Why?
Because I don't know. This is also my
event. And it's squad.
Okay, but this is relevant. So you know the game Marry F Marry Kill?
Yes, but I prefer that it's
I knew it's gonna be like smooch, hang out with, and kick out of the room, right?
Yeah. less severe, you know? Like that requires a lot of intimacy to kill or have sex with someone, and I'm not there yet. So
I like how marriage doesn't count as something that would be intimate to you. You're like, whatever, I can do that.
That implies like a lot of work and partnership.
Okay, but if you had to,
this is
smooch, fun. Hang out with,
playing this with you 10 years ago, I would be.
Yeah, you would have blacked out. Kick out of the room.
Time.
Werewolves, vampires, and ghosts. How would you fall?
Oh,
see, I'm not going to make it weird for you.
Thank you. Well, you like to make things weird sometimes.
I do, but I know who I'm dealing with. I'm not trying to ruin your day.
Yeah, the history there. Okay, so it's tough because a lot of, so I love horror comedies and
Yeah.
but I am also easily scared. Oh, there's a question in the Q&A.
Oh, hey, you
Oh.
still have to answer though. We'll answer
I
this
will.
question from the Q&A as soon as you're done.
I think if I'm honest, I would probably that's so hard because the werewolf, that's a lot of maintenance once a month. I mean, you have to make sure they are safe somewhere and they're not gonna, go out on the town. And
I mean, you and I have different priorities. Mine is like, I just got to make sure they're near the right people.
oh no, no. I think I would marry a ghost. Because it's not their fault they're a ghost. Like usually they're evil, but sometimes they're just so. And again, I don't know these people personally, so that's different too. Okay,
Yeah.
like I'm hope, and they're female identified, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So as long as they're hyper femme and bitchy, it really doesn't matter. That seems to be my type, which is again why I'm single. But I guess the vampire would scare me the most.
Yeah.
But would probably be the most like seductive.
I mean, that is like their whole thing.
Right. So that would be the getting to know better person. Married would be the ghost girl. She's always around the house.
You're going to kill the werewolf, or you're going to kick the werewolf out of the room?
I'm going to be friends with the werewolf. But when it's a full moon, be like, well, I'll see ya.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I would be slightly different.
Oh, someone said also financial stability. Summer said financial stability with vampires because they've been around a long time.
This is my chief reason for marrying a vampire. Financial stability and also like perspective. Like I'll be like, I'm so stressed out.
But
and
they're going to get so bored.
Out?
They're going to be so bored.
All the time. I don't know, man.
I
think I'm just going to have to live in their manner and figure it out. I would ask the ghost to leave the room because I don't like somebody who I can't see. Like I don't like the idea of
imagine you can see them.
Ghosts can be like around and you can like sense them, right? And I don't like that. I don't like a lurker. So I think I would ask the ghost to leave the room.
All right. I was going to make a joke, but I'm not going to. I'm going to read this question. It's from Summer Laurie, our dear friend from the Books Inc. days. Books Inc. is a great bookstore in the Bay Area of California, which Maggie and I both worked for. And Summer asks, I'm wondering about the reception of the book by boys in high school. Not that it was your intention with the book, but do you think any of them are seeing themselves in any of the books? In any of the boys? So. In any of the boys, I'm sorry.
I hope so. So one of the things that I talked to specifically to the boys at Piedmont High about today was that everyone in the book is kind of a bad person. Like they all do bad things to each other. They all injure each other in ways that are unkind and do real damage to one another, from microaggressions to murder. And one of the things that makes it so difficult to talk about rape culture is that often we try to flatten everyone into like monsters and good guys, right? But consent is actually like a really complicated, weird issue. There are obvious cases of monstrous, abuse of it. But a lot of the times the things are like, it's difficult. It was a difficult thing and it was handled poorly by somebody who didn't know what they were doing yet, or maybe should have known better, but is otherwise a good person. It's complicated. And when we flatten it into just like all boys are bad and all girls are good, we make it impossible for us to have an honest conversation about consent. And one of the things that's really hard, especially in a place like Piedmont, is when you accuse someone of assault, you're often accusing someone who's really well liked. Like she's really popular, or he's, the best part of math class, like whatever it is. And so people don't want to hear it because they're like, well, if they did anything even close to sexual assault, they're a monster. And like they're, and that person's not a monster. I know that person. So that obviously can't be true. And we obviously can't even begin to talk about any sort of restorative justice that would take us along that way. And so I was clear with the boys I was talking to today anyway, that like, they're not all bad. They have done bad things that are inexcusable in some cases, but are not things that deserve the death penalty necessarily. And so like being able to talk about it, like I hope that Squad just serves as like a conversation starter. I think that kids are smart enough to take in media and to look at a main character and be like, she says this, but I don't think that that was the right way to do it. And then it's their job as the reader to be like, well, what would the right way be? And the point is just to sort of like think about that. That's all I'm really hoping for. And so I do hope that boys and girls and non-binary people see themselves in various characters in this story that are not as simple as one thing. That, you know, or even if you only see them for a moment, you still have to wonder, like, was that the right response? Like, yeah, that guy was being a little dick, being like, oh, you're friend zoning me. And it's like, yeah, he's annoying, and that's an inexcusable way to be. Does he deserve to die? And I feel like that's like, when you start, you ask kind of an obvious question. The obvious answer there is like, no, he doesn't deserve to die. That's insane. And it's like, okay, well, then what does he deserve? And you have to like, then the reader gets to work backwards from there. And I feel like what I'm doing is just posing a question in a really silly way that allows a more serious conversation to start. That's my hope anyway. And so I do hope they see themselves. If they see themselves in Thatcher, here's what I'd say. I don't think any boy who is Thatcher would be self-aware enough to see himself in Thatcher.
Yeah. Or they'd be like, Thatcher seems all right. Yeah.
He seems dope.
With him.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's kind of my hope with it. I will say though, I wrote this book for people who have suffered sexual assault and like for queer kids, and that's kind of it. So if like cishet boys feel threatened by the book or feel like it's mean,
there's so much more out there.
There's like, yeah, there are other books for them. And that's
everything else.
Yeah, they can refer to the rest of American literature.
Teen Wolf with me.
Yeah.
Howard, you know.
So like that was sort of philosophically how I came. I will say, working with Martha Mihalik at Greenwell, she's the editor, the boy who is not bad was a suggestion she made, because all of the boys I had were monsters in some, like, kind of obviously, and he's the only one who's not. And that was an edit that I think was really smart and complicates the story. Hello.
Hi. Like the wrap up time.
So like all deep in it. And then at 7:55, we got into something really serious. And I was like, oh no, I cannot.
Sorry.
No, like this has been amazing. But now it's 7:58 and I have to do.
Yeah, let's do the wrap up.
Yeah.
Like,
thank you for having us.
This has been incredible. Like this has been out of control amazing. I'm so
put it on the YouTube, you know?
Yeah, we are. We're gonna put it on the YouTube.
Put it on the internet.
Yes. We will put it on the YouTubes. You will
Everyone be like, I need to buy Squad from Silver Unicorn Books.
Obviously. And get your stickers. Wait, where did I put my stickers? Did it go into the thing? Okay, there are stickers. Yeah. They are in there.
Screenshot that. There you go.
Boom. So if you come to the Silver Unicorn and you purchase this awesome book, which you've been hearing about for an hour, you get beautiful stickers. Like, get them. Book plates are coming. So that's even more reason to order these from silverunicornbooks.com or come into the store and get a copy. You can do that right now. Don't forget that The Mermaid, the Witch in the Sea, which took forever to write. But
8 years. Please buy it.
I mean, that's a labor of love and it's totally worth it.
There's Maggie.
Hey, it's me.
Amazing. And don't forget that Sara is amazing and her books are also available at the Silver Unicorn Bookstore and the silverunicornbookstore.com.
Listen, I love all your books. But here to stay, I love that new paperback cover.
Oh,
that
thanks.
Is adorable.
It's fabulous.
It feels right to, it's Bijan, right? It's been like years since I read it. Sorry.
Yeah.
He's so sweet. Okay. And he deserves a good pink cover. Like that's the Bijan we know and love.
I don't think the Werewolf girls would eat him at all.
No, they wouldn't. He would be perfectly safe.
Yeah. Yes,
but he does have a lot in common with Scott Howard. Basketball and is a newfound star at his high school.
Oh my God. That is the
Kira,
best.
thank you so much for having us. If I
Thank
could
you.
just say one last thing, it's I hope you all buy as many books as you possibly can from Silver Unicorn and your local independent bookseller of choice as soon as possible, because the supply chain is not doing great. I have finished all of my holiday shopping and I recommend it to everyone so that you can make sure you get the books you want.
There were
for
only
people.
3 of these left at Party City.
Only 3 of that magnificent wolf mask left.
And Halloween is around the corner. So
Yeah. It's true. Listen, if you don't want to be disappointed by the supply chain, buy local, y'all. Come to your independent bookstore, do your thing, support
Now.
folks,
Do it now.
and do it now, for real.
you want treats and not tricks this holiday
Yes.
season. Yeah.
It's true.
Damn right.
But Maggie, thank you so much for a great book, and thank you, Silver Unicorn, for having us.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Sarah, thanks for reading it.
You're both amazing. Keep writing, keep creating. We're so excited. Thank you so much. And come back. Please come back for your next projects. We can't wait to host you again.
Will
Okay.
do. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you, everyone. Have a great night. Bye, y'all.